Hello, Smriti. Thank you so much for joining us today on Elder Care Voices. So let's talk a little bit about why you think it's important and why really enabling a senior care system, especially in a country like India, could be relevant for us.
So I've been thinking about this, Seema, and when you reached out, I was just thinking that if I see over the last 15, 20 years, let's say when my parents were in the industry versus then when we joined, the entire ecosystem has changed so much because, there was a time when we all used to live in joint families. I've grown up in joint families, right? And from there on, it's a pure nuclear family, me, my husband, and my daughter. So times have technically changed. There was a time when man of the house was the single bread earner, and there were women back at home taking care of everybody else at home and managing it well, right? So that bit from joint families, we've moved to nuclear families. From single bread earner versus rest of the family back home, we've now gone where it's a dual working couple. None of them is back at home to take care if there's somebody back at home. And which is where the societal construct has changed. I also believe, Reema, that the impact of medical care or your mental happiness has a huge impact on your longevity. Medical sciences, etc., have gone so ahead, and if you take a good care of people, there's life expectancy that's gone up. So I think in total, if you look at it, the social construct has changed. Medical care, medical facilities, if people are taken good care of, the longevity has increased. And if you bring this together, I think it merits a case for taking care of elders in the family.
What do you really feel about, how do they feel when they become empty nesters, their children finally get married and move on for work? So what do you think that they kind of go through? Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think they go through a lot. And you're right, I'm a daughter and I'm a daughter-in-law. I see both sides of my family. I see, when you interact with them, of course, try to make it a point that, you call them on a daily basis, and then work takes over, it moves to weekly basis, and then it's infrequent. You realize there's so much of an emotional void. I mean, I've felt it when I've had a heart-to-heart with either sets of parents. I've realized there's so much of an emotional void that they experience. And I think as working children for them, we continue to feel guilty about the whole thing, right? I mean, there is a day I'm guilty about not having called my mom. There's a day when I feel guilty about not having called my mom-in-law. There's a day when I'm just feeling guilty about work. I think that entire support, there's an expectation of support from their end, which they never articulate. I think our parents do a fab job of not sharing what's running in their head and heart. I also think there is this bit around the need for mental stimulus, right? They've been working till the age of 60. After a particular time frame, they feel they need that mental stimulus, but where should they get it from? Whether they get associated with an NGO or one of them is on share market. I think there has to be, when I talk to them, I feel there's a need to provide them mental stimulus, to give them emotional security. And of course, to top it all up, there's physical insecurity, right? Suddenly, what if? That always keeps playing on their mind. I think in total, when I look at it, it's overall psychological insecurity with which I've seen them operate, and they never voice it. I think you have to keep guessing it. Oh, maybe they need this, maybe they need that. So that's how I've seen both sides of my parents.
Now, as a HR leader with so many years of experience, you have also probably come across a lot of situations where this entire elder care responsibility has been playing on the minds of your employees. And how do you think the psychology of an employee gets impacted, especially at the workplace in such a scenario?
I think there's a lot of feeling of helplessness, right? Because there is no called out ecosystem that can support. For example, over the years, childcare has automatically come up. There is a daycare at every certain feet, and you know that your child is well taken care of, even if you're slogging at work, right? But the same ecosystem doesn't apply to our elders in the society. And therefore, I have sensed some bit of feeling of helplessness. I've also personally felt a lot of potential in our country going waste because of it, right? Because of course you are busy or you feel guilty, like I shared the guilt part with you. You're guilty, you want to be around them within 10 meters distance, etc., which leads to potential going waste. But to your point, I think those employees definitely have that feeling of helplessness. They really want to fully utilize their potential, be at work, come up with great ideas, etc. But some things bothering them in the head, especially during tough times, like COVID was one extreme. But even day to day, when you have aging parents at home, I think every day could be very different, right?
From your perspective, is elder care at a good to do stage, or do you think that the time is coming where it should become a must do policy intervention?
I think, Reema, I've always seen our society or our ecosystem needs a strong nudge before anything changes. It took a pandemic like this for us to accept that mental well-being is as important as any other, right? For us to realize employee needing flexibility or choosing their own working hours has nothing to do with whether I trust or not, because pandemic forced us to trust our own people, right? But it needed a pandemic for that push to come through. And similarly, childcare, when when the government started realizing that to have women at workplace, it is important for some of these policies to come about. I think that's the nudge that ensured it happens. To your point, what I feel, I think we shouldn't wait for another nudge. We shouldn't wait for something to force us to make it happen. It's great to be proactive. It's great to think ahead of time and make certain decisions at this point in.
So now with the offices opening up and with the hybrid work policies or back to work kind of actions coming into place, do you think that this entire codependency regime which got created where the children were available to support their parents more closely, and that's kind of become a way of life, it's nudged people into thinking about leading their professional lives also differently? Do you think that could be impacted, the coming back to work?
I think these 2 years may have taken away a lot from us, but they've given us a lot as well. I think people like us who were used to being in office from 9 to 8 have realized that, whoa, it is great to look at the sun set, right? It's great to be back home during, when the daylight is still there. And it's great to share a drink with our parents when we are back home, right? It's great to sit by our own kids around that time. So I think we may have a lot of things to say about COVID, which are negative, but there's always a silver lining, which is how I see it. And to your point, of course, we've loved it. I think every time somebody's asked me what I've liked about COVID, I've loved the fact that I could spend a lot more time, many hours with my family. And with going back to work, unless organizations are that open to flexibility, which we do here, it's going to be a big task. I think nobody wants to miss out. People have realized that life has got more to offer, especially, we in India attach a lot to our work. We had somewhere forgotten the balance. I think we will come back. We would love, having seen these 2 years, we want it all.
So just a last quick question. As a HR leader, if you were to bring in some kind of elder care services to your organization, so hypothetically, what do you think would be the kind of ROI you would be looking at of introducing such kind of measures in your organization?
There are two parts to it, Reema. One, when I think from the head, and the other when I think from the heart, right? And I think as HR, I would love to think from the heart first, which is to say mental well-being of my employees. If they are feeling secure about their parents, if they are feeling their families well in control and everybody's happy back home, of course, they are mentally, feeling good. They're feeling secure. So I think, of course, that is one critical bit to me. At the same time, when I think from the head, because business will always look at ROI, and I do understand P&Ls become important in that context. But I think there could be a great benefit of productivity out there, right? Me taking long leaves and long set of leaves, etc., because I need to take care of certain nuances back at home, versus getting this care for my parents where they are feeling a lot more independent and managing the show and still getting the love and care that they so need. I think if this comes into play, it would mean a lot better productivity, lower absenteeism, etc. That will automatically show actually in numbers in terms of ROI.
Really interesting to hear your perspectives and your insights, both as an individual from a personal and professional self. And we hope that our community and our society wakes up very quickly to this need that we think is becoming really, really important for us. Thank you for being with us.